Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about the topic of addictive relationships in recovery, why love goes wrong in recovery. Now, there are two or three aspects of this. First of all, let's define what a relationship is. It is a way of connecting between an object, an idea, or people, two or more people, or two or more ideas, two more objects, two more concepts. Uh, as addicts in recovery, uh, we tend to look for something along the way there early in our recovery that will replace that dopamine rush that we had when we were using. And the very first thing most often that occurs in a treatment program with the clients that are coming on in recovery, they will look to sex or relationships. You're going to use those two terms interchangeably. That's your choice. But inevitably, in relationships that occur early in recovery, the prognosis for a long-lasting outcome and a positive outcome are pretty much minimal. I'm not going to say that no one that gets together in a relationship in recovery ever succeeds, but statistically the probability is about like a cow pissing on a flat rock and missing the rock. It just doesn't work out well. So to bring to mind a story from a fellow named Terence Gorski, who was a lecturer and educator and widely known in the drug community circle of professionals, probably back in the 80s. And actually, we used his material in treatment when I was working. He gives an example of himself talking about an addictive relationship. He talks about working on his doctor's degree in psychology, and at some point he had to himself go into counseling in order to be able to, well, to understand his limitations and his need for counseling, I suppose. I'm really not quite sure why they want a therapist to have counseling, but I'm pretty sure we probably all need one. It wouldn't hurt. But anyway, he talks to the doctor. He goes in, and the doctor asks him right away, what do you want? And at that time, Gorski was probably finishing up his degree. He said, well, I want a woman. I want a woman good looking, beautiful, intelligent, legs up to her eyeballs, and just drop dead, knockout, gorgeous. The doctor thought about that a minute, and then he said, well, I got a question for you. He said, what would a woman like that want to do with some bitch like you? Now, Gorski is a little 4'3" fellow, 5, somewhere in there. He's a short fellow, and he's probably kind of like me. We ain't the prettiest fellow you've ever seen. So that's to say this. I mean, we want things that we ourselves do not possess. Uh, so in the case of Gorski, I mean, it's understandable. He said he fired the doctor and got him another one. He didn't say it quite so nicely. I don't think I can say he fired the son of a bitch on YouTube. I'll find out after I put this up. Maybe they'll believe it. I don't know. But addictive relationships in recovery often occur, and they are fostered in and out of recovery a lot of times before you even get into the treatment program. But for this particular chit chat. I think we need to just focus on the relationships that occur in recovery. Some of the ideas that crossed the minds of most of the clients at the time, well, guys tend to use "I love you" for what? Sex. I don't know if it's innate in us to want to do that, be dogs or not. It seems like it is. And a woman will do what? Use sex to get what? Love. So right away we're dealing with two different modus operandi here for the whole clash that's about to occur. Uh, False thinking patterns are fallacies in your thoughts that addicts tend to harbor. You gotta remember now, we done come to treatment after we've tickled most of our brain, or we've messed it up and fried it, the, the neuroreceptors in our brain with cocaine, crystal meth, opioids, God knows what else we've done. So when we get there, we're already kind of whacked out. But when the fog starts lifting and we're there and now we're missing this rush we used to have, what are we going to do? Well, I'm telling you, in the co-ed treatment facility, what's going to happen. And the idea that goes along with this, I can change him. If we get together, we'll both change. Uh, He'll love me and I'll love him, and we'll do fine together. We'll hold each other and support each other in our recovery. Well, I'm going to tell you, that's about like two cripples trying to fight their way out of a burning building. It ain't going to happen. The truth of it is that one of the other, when they have a propensity or relapse, they're not going to talk with their partner about, well, hey, I've got a craving, I think I need a relapse. When they do that, well, it's like two bridges. I mean, one falls down, what's going to happen to the other? I'll go back to the old saying, run with the dogs, you're going to get the fleas. So you can't save someone from using early on in their recovery. And it's often the trigger for you to go back to using. This is represented very well in the Bill Wilson story. Those of you that know it, if you don't, I'm just going to give you an overview of it. Talk about a fellow named Eddie. Now, Eddie had a problem with alcohol also, but Eddie got sober way before Bill did. And he went through this thing called the Oxford Group. The Oxford Group actually is some of the founding principles of AA that we'll get into later. But during Bill's drinking career, Eddie went to the house and he saw Bill laying up on the table there and drinking. House going on 10 in the morning, whatever, not getting out, not doing anything. Don't you know that Eddie was tempted to drink? Now, he didn't that time. But as it goes along in this story of Bill Wilson, when he started with Dr. Bob to get out and promote and develop AA, well, guess what happened to Eddie? Yeah. The propensity to relapse is definitely greater with two people together that are using, that even aspire to be clean, because they're early in their recovery and their minds are still not clear. Just the thinking that most addicts have, like, we keep secrets, we keep the family secret. Well, in treatment, in a group setting, It's kind of real easy to tell which couple are partnering up outside the treatment center. They don't want you to know it. They won't talk about it, but it'll come up. I mean, all these things start flaring out. A jealousy if one male or female pays attention to the partner of the other. Uh, it just never works out in a productive way in a treatment program. In fact, just getting on another topic, I strongly suggest that and recommend that married couples do not attend the same group session together for that very reason. Uh, I've had some, excuse me, my dog here. Get down, Trisha. I've had some experience with that, and in all the cases that I've been involved in with married couples in recovery, it never seems to work out. Usually one has to go to if there's an option, go to a meeting scheduled earlier for that group, or find another meeting or find another treatment program. It's just really not a good idea to put a married couple into a group room environment with other recovering addicts that are single and may not have a partner in the group. The dynamics just change tremendously. So I'm going to admit right now, right up front, I have no idea what a normal relationship is. I probably never had one, and the closest I ever come to it, I didn't know it. But this guy named Gorski that I mentioned earlier seemed to be an expert on writing on the, I guess, the ideal relationship, how folks are supposed to act. Jealousy, obsession with others, secrecy, just distrust. Those enough right there to start off. That's all I remember right off the top of my head. Addicts in recovery tend to display all these things that I just mentioned. They cannot be involved in a relationship when they are steadily in a relationship or trying to break off a relationship with their substance of choice, whether it be alcohol, cocaine, or whatever it is. That is a relationship. Remember earlier I said between two people, two objects, or two ideas. Well, you had a relationship with your drug, and for most of us, it took control, and it became everything. It destroyed our family, destroyed our job, it destroyed everything that we had before we got to the point that we were using. So, a normal relationship, I mean, my God, what is that? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do if I could just have free will to do what I wanted and didn't have to be accountable about it. I mean, I think that we all have a degree of accountability, but in a normal relationship, I don't know that your partner is going to go crazy if you decided you wanted to go out on Friday night, go hang out with the fellows. Maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. Let's say for the sake of this, well, okay, go hang out, and I'll have a girls' night out with the girls. But if you take an addict and you put them in that same scenario, who are you going to see? Why don't you want me to go? You don't love me? Distrust. There's no trust there. trust is something that has to be earned and built. It's not just something that you automatically given. And addicts that have torn up any modicum of trust that they ever had earned someone else through their addiction, they lost it. So distrust is there. Uh, toxic, uh, toxic behavior just and mindset just prevalent. Uh, I don't want you looking at anybody else. Well, I don't know, I don't know what to tell you, fellas. If you've been into a relationship with someone in recovery and you tried it on the side, you know what I'm talking about here. And it's not just the fellows. I'm not being gender specific here. It's both parties. Those relationships just don't tend to work out. So, in fact, AA will tell you, you want to try to have a relationship with something, you get you a plan. See if you can grow a plant. See if you can take care of a plant. I mean, addicts are so into themselves in their addiction, they have no other agenda other than perpetuating their use. And to get outside themselves and to actually take care of something else, try a plant for 3 months. Well, I tried 2 or 3 of them. I killed them. I mean, I just ain't got a green thumb. I ended up getting me a cactus, and I didn't have to water it so much, so it stayed alive longer than the rest of them. But relationships early on in recovery just had so many barriers that they're just setting themselves up for failure before they begin. Normal relationships have to develop interaction where one knows the other, where there's trust, whether there's mutual agreement, whether there's consent and common goals. It's not necessarily always to have common goals, but at least to be able to work within the framework of those goals in a relationship. An example of this is it's all over the news about Tom Brady and Giselle, or whatever her name is, the model. Well, they worked for years together, and I'm not bashing their relationship. It's public knowledge. So what I'm saying is that they both in their careers tend to go different ways. Their agendas didn't match up anymore. They didn't have the same common goals. So having common goals and trusting somebody in a relationship and giving that person the freedom to choose, not manipulating them into or forcing them into a decision to be in a relationship, and not manipulating them after you get into a relationship. Those are some of the features that are important in a healthy relationship. Okay. We got some noise outside the door. Apologize. Just the way it is. I'm in the Philippines in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood's really close proximity. So, what is the point in all this? Well, I guess I want to wrap this up by saying 2 or 3 things. One, everybody wants to have a relationship, most everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's human nature. but later, once you get yourself a foundation in recovery, on that particular issue, I went along with my sponsor, and we had disagreements on my leaving the center and going back into a relationship. It's not that I started one. I was already in one, and many who go in recovery are, and they have to make decisions about will they go back to that relationship or will they end it. But it took, for me, it was 8 months before I decided to go back into my previous relationship and try to make it work again. Um, but the model suggests, the AA model suggests, that at least a year, give it a year in recovery before you try to venture out there and get yourself involved in a relationship. Uh, give yourself time to build up some tools, some sobriety, some sense of self, and some sense of your goals and things you want. Uh, and we just have to understand our delayed gratification. Uh, and that's something addicts hate, delayed gratification. It has, the gratification will come later. I mean, it's like a farmer sowing a seed. Well, when he puts the seed in the ground, he's not going to get a crop tomorrow. It may take 2 months, 3 months, whatever it takes for that crop to grow. Same with our recovery. We're seedlings when we first come into recovery, and we just are not prepared to weather the storm that's going to come at us in terms of involving ourselves in a relationship early on in recovery. I'm very interested in some comments on this and your thoughts on this. If you got another viewpoint, I'd like to hear it. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps it grow so that I can get this out there to more people. Hopefully it'll be helpful to someone. So for now, thank you, and God bless.